Yo guys, welcome back, and today I'm going to be rating every single COD game, or at least the ones I played anyway. So if you enjoy, please like and subscribe, and yeah, let's get into it. So firstly, we're going to talk about Vanguard. Now, I've made my dislike of this game pretty clear, even if I never said it. Um, for example, during Vanguard's life cycle, I made more videos about MW2 before MW2 even came out. I know, it's kind of pathetic, really. I stopped playing the game after about Season 4. There was just nothing left to play for at that point. And I was actually playing Warzone mostly from that period onwards. Next, I'm going to go with MW2 2022. Now, I'm also of the opinion that this game was very disappointing and not just bad. I think it's a bit better than Vanguard, no doubt. However, I think this mostly because of DMZ. And yeah, that's really it. The multiplayer was pretty neglected all year, and most of the stuff we got was basically just Warzone sloppy seconds. And the campaign was okay, I suppose, but some missions were really long, like Recon by Fire. I don't know what the average completion time is for that one, but I swear it was like an hour. Yeah, so second from the bottom, MW2 2022. Next, Infinite Warfare. Now, I actually don't necessarily hate Infinite Warfare per se. I like the campaign, but I really don't like the multiplayer. I don't know why. I think it's because it's a bit like BO3, but kind of worse in every way. And as for the zombies, I've actually never played it, so I can't really give a true opinion on it. Next, I'm going to go with COD Ghosts. So this might just be me, but when I first played the game about 10 years ago, I hated it. Admittedly, I was quite young, and I wasn't really that into COD at that time. Admittedly, going back, I don't think that this game was as bad as I originally thought, but I really didn't like the multiplayer, especially the map design, and the campaign has a sort of bullshit ending, if I'm being fully honest. Next, I'm going to say Modern Warfare 2019. Now, I actually have some good memories of this game, especially playing private matches with friends. However, I can't help but feel this game feels a bit dated. Not in terms of its age, but it feels much older than it really is. The graphics are a lot more realistic than other COD games, but I don't think this means better. The TTK was extremely quick, to the extent that sprint out and ADS were basically the only things that mattered. The campaign was okay, I guess, but extremely annoying to get the platinum trophy on PlayStation. Because of one glitch trophy in the form of We Own the Night. Yeah, it was basically the trophy was you had to go through the mission going dark without getting spotted, basically. But here's the thing, it, as I said, it was glitched. It very rarely actually popped. So yeah, that was annoying. But that aside, yeah, I won't be going back to this game anytime soon. Next, I'll say Advanced Warfare. Now, this is obviously the first Advanced Movement COD game, and for a first attempt, it wasn't all that bad, honestly. I actually prefer Advanced Warfare style of movement to the BO3 and Infinite Warfare version. However, there is one massive elephant in the room that knocks this one down to me: the pay to win weapons. They completely ruin the game for me, and probably a lot of others, actually. For those who don't know, different variants in this game had different stats to the regular version, which made the game very pay to win as a result. You may think it's very harsh to knock it down this heavily based on purely this, but I think it's actually fairly fair, honestly. Next, I'm going to say COD World War Two. Now, COD World War Two is a game I personally don't mind. In fact, I think this game has probably the best CTK in COD history. The campaign was decent, although it was fairly short. Now, if you had asked me prior to the multiplayer rework, I would put this game on much lower. But I think that the rework raised the game's standards by quite a bit to where it is now. Next, I'm going to say BO4. Now, BO4 is a very divisive and different COD game, partly because it has no campaign, and in multiplayer it has manual healing and a very long TTK. I, however, don't actually mind this. I do admit that the manual healing does have a somewhat steep learning curve. It sounds kind of dumb, but it really does, honestly. Now, BO4 was, however, one of the worst selling COD games ever, and one game that has never had the best reputation in the community, partly due to the aforementioned reasons, and also because the DLC was pretty bad, puts this game down here. Next, I'm going to say MW3. Now, MW3 is obviously the most recent COD as of this video coming out, and honestly, I actually think it's alright. Yes, the campaign is bad, but ultimately the multiplayer is pretty good. Sure, there's stuff like SBMM, but like I don't really like harping on that too hard, and also because I'm used to a lot of games that have high SBMM, it doesn't bother me as much. The zombies is okay, although it is similar to DMZ, which I know I like, but it's too similar for me to say that it's very good. Next, I'm going to say the original COD 4 and MWR. Now, yes, they are separate games, but I'm going to consider them the same because although MWR has some more content and stuff like better netcode and, you know, slightly better like hit detection and stuff like that, they are mostly the same. Whilst this game was massive, not only for COD itself, but for the entire genre, I can't help it feels very dated and very much a product of its time. I got somewhat serious into MWR back in the day, but looking back, I can clearly see its flaws, like its movement's not necessarily the cleanest, and it's actually fairly bare bones, all said and done, which, you know, obviously I have to rate this compared to every other COD game, so I have to put it down here. Next, I'm going to go with a really controversial pick in the OG MW2. Now, in a lot of people's minds, I've basically just committed blasphemy, but I can actually explain this one. MW2 really benefits from the fact that it released in 2009 and not 2024. What I mean by this is that people would be very upset if the multiple glitches that were in this game weren't fixed and we're only getting 10 new maps all year. And I think 3 were just COD 4 maps, if I remember correctly. Vanguard, for example, had a lot of glitches that weren't fixed until quite late, which kind of killed that game. And it didn't have that much content, and it was probably the worst selling COD games as COD 4. I don't actually believe Vanguard sold 30 million, by the way. I just think that, in short, it's probably to do with like free access weekends. Now, I'm not saying MW2 is a bad game, I'm just saying that a lot of heavy nostalgia is at play here. The campaign, whilst I think is pretty good, I have played it way too many times for me to really be excited by it, and I'm actually just pretty bored every single time it comes up. So yeah, I'm going to leave it here. We are in the top 5 now and we're Cold War. I can also explain this one. Yes, the game did not launch in the best shape. However, by the end of the game's life cycle, I don't think this was an issue at all. The campaign was actually pretty good for in the time it was made in. The multiplayer, as I said, didn't launch with that much content, but by the end, it had so much content. I think it was technically had the most content of any COD game at that time. And the zombies was quite interesting because, at least compared to past zombies, it was a lot more casual friendly. Now, yeah, you can laugh at that all you want, but I'm not really much of a zombies player, so it made it much easier to play this year. Next, I'm going to go with World at War. Now, World at War is probably the hardest and most serious COD game. Now, these two things have been said ad nauseum by other people in the community, but I think it's true. The campaign has a good mix of real history and fictional characters, which makes it quite good. The game also introduced zombies, which was a massive addition. Given the fact that it's expected that every Treyarch and even some non-Treyarch games will have it, proves that this was massive. As for the multiplayer, it has one major flaw in the fact that it's way too similar to COD 4 that round. It has a lot of the same perks, it has the same amount of kill streaks, and the kill streaks themselves are clearly World War II-ified versions of the COD 4 streaks. That's why Treyarch doesn't seem to be that proud of World at War, as they see it as more like a World War II-ified version of COD 4, at least in a multiplayer sense. On to third, I'm going to say BO2. Now, BO2 was the first COD I actually got into, so that's why I have this so high. The gameplay feels somewhat modern, but also all at the same time, which I think makes it much better in my opinion. I have a lot of memories playing split screen zombies with my friends. There's this interesting story. One of my mates really liked using the MP7 for some reason. I don't really know why. To the extent that he wouldn't let other people use it, otherwise he'd get quite angry. But going back to the game itself, the campaign is good, although not quite as good as I thought it was. I don't know whether or not I thought it was better because I hadn't played it in years, or I was younger then. I don't know. The multiplayer is, I think, is probably the most balanced multiplayer we've ever had. but it can be broken in certain aspects, and I think it's in the broken sense, it's better than MW2 ever was. Next, the original MW3. Now, MW3 was my first COD game, so that's probably why it's this high, but I still think it's the second best COD game, at least in my opinion. The campaign has a fairly satisfying ending to the Modern Warfare story, and was quite impressive given it was made by like 50 people after the Infinity Ward walkout. As for the multiplayer has a lot of content, a good amount of maps, and stuff like the TTK is pretty good. There was also COD Elite, which for those who don't know was like a season pass, but it had stuff like, I think it had an exclusive camo and calling cards and whatnot. It was an interesting way of releasing content. You could also get maps for it through something called drops. You could also just buy the maps themselves, but I think like it was a very interesting way to go about it. And finally, BO1. Now, BO1 is my favourite COD game because it feels like the best combo of COD games it could be. What I mean by this is the campaign has a very different style even compared to other Black Ops games. If you don't know, the campaign is actually fairly similar to Cold War, other way it's the other way around, if you get what I'm saying. The Zombies was a big improvement on World at War and actually featured the World at War maps in it, so you can actually properly see it. The multiplayer is like BO2 in the sense that it feels new, in the sense that it doesn't feel like it's from 2010, however it feels quite familiar in a lot of ways as well. There was COD points, not the current system we have, but something if you've played War Thunder, the Silver Lion system. Basically, you get them from playing the game and you need them to unlock new stuff. Now, if you'd asked me a few years ago, I probably would have said the original MW3 was a better game, at least in my opinion, but I think overall, I think BO1 is better now. So, I hope you enjoyed. Please like, subscribe, and comment down below. What's your favourite COD game? And yeah, bye.